Practice.
Hi everybody, this is Amanda Thompson with Allied Instructional Services. In this video, we're going to look at some ways that you can navigate around a Google Doc with text and different ways that you can select different amounts of text and have JAWS read it to you. So there are a variety of ways to do any of these things. Some ways are more efficient and make more sense than others. A lot of times students learn one strategy and then they're not as interested or motivated to learn other approaches or strategies. So I always try to make sure I teach and reinforce these skills with my students and then go back and revisit them from time to time, because I find that sometimes my students revert back to methods that are not always the most efficient. For example, students will a lot of times just say navigate by arrow down throughout the entire document, which may not be the most efficient way to find the content that they're looking for. So to go to the top of your document, one of the ways is Control Home.
Top of file. Practice document dash.
And I'm going to silence JAWS a lot throughout this. We move by arrows and then adding some modifier keys in with the arrows to navigate by larger chunks, or maybe to highlight what we're doing or to read from where we are or whatever. So I'm just going to start with the very basics and then we'll add on to that. So to select everything, it's Control A.
Entering page 2 of 2.
It did not read everything for me, which I'm surprised that it didn't. Usually it does. So I'm going to hit Escape. That didn't work either. So let's go back to the top. We'll just go to arrows first. So left and right is going to navigate by one letter. And JAWS is done reading for me again. So I'm going to do
Loudoun County JAWS.
Okay.
Practice document dash O L.
And it's reading again. So sometimes JAWS stops reading. And the best approach for when that happens is you just Alt Tab and come back into whatever you're doing. Sometimes hitting F5 or function F5 if you need the function key to refresh your page works. But left and right navigates by letter.
H-I-N-S-N-I-H-P.
It's great if you're trying to find out if something is spelled correctly and you want to navigate by letter. Usually navigating by letter is not the most efficient way. Sometimes my students do that. It is what it is. If you arrow down,
mouse, which gives them a permanent species found in every ocean or brackish waters,
it's gonna read by line. So sometimes my students just do that because it's the easiest thing for them to remember, and there's nothing wrong with that either. So I'm going to go back up to the top.
Top of file.
With my Control Home. You can navigate by word.
R. Small. Cetaceans.
By adding in the control and hitting left and right arrows.
Small. R. Dolphins.
Right. And then Control down.
The largest dolphin. Dolphins feed. Heading level 1 behavior.
Is by paragraph.
Dolphins feed.
Chunk.
The largest dolphins are.
So it moves you by chunk of text, right? So Control moves it by a chunk of text. If we were to do, say, Shift,
selected.
It highlights.
O,
so
selected.
Shift arrow
Delta.
highlights by letter. Okay. Shift down. So that was Shift right arrow. Shift down
selected.
Arrow highlights by line.
Dolphins
okay.
Are small.
So if we did Control Shift down arrow,
selected. Dolphin.
It'll highlight by paragraph.
Dolphins are
and Control Shift to the right will do by word. So let's just review that really fast.
O.
Right arrow by letter.
Selected.
Shift right arrow highlights that letter.
Dolphin.
Okay. Control Shift right arrow highlights the word.
D.
Okay.
R.
Control arrow just moves by word. Okay. Then let's do downs. Same. So left and right work the same. Down and up work the same. So
mouse.
Down arrow
Dolphins are
by itself is by line. Control down arrow is by paragraph. Go back to the top. So Control Shift down
selected.
Highlights your paragraph. And then Control down just moves by paragraph. So anytime you're adding in the shift when navigating, it's going to highlight whatever means you're navigating. So if you just first remember, okay, left and right arrows by letter, Control left and right arrows by word, up and down arrows by line, Control up and down arrows by paragraph, then you add in the shift, it highlights whatever chunk that you got there. So we're going to go back home.
Top of file.
Okay. Now we can say you wanted to highlight all the way to recognizable to copy it for whatever reason. We can Control Shift right arrow and just keep adding on.
Selected, small dash 2, selected, cetacean, selected, easily, selected, recognizable.
I heard the word that I wanted, so I've highlighted that, and I can control
Selected,
C to
dolphins
copy.
are small dash 2, cetaceans easily recognizable. Selected, dolphins
Another
mouse,
option
which
is if you're reading along the text, and I wanted to get to the word smile, because I've already read this, I know what it is. I know that
6, 3.
I know that I'm at the number, it's towards the end of the line, I can control left arrow.
There, period, right quote, smile.
Oh, there's smile. So I'm going to go to the other side of the word smile. The cursor reads whatever is to the right of the cursor. JAWS reads what's to the right of the cursor. So if it's saying smile and I highlight backwards, it's not going to highlight smile. So I need to go to the other side of smile.
Period, right.
And then if I control shift home,
Selected, dolphin.
It will highlight from that point to the top of the document.
Species, mouse.
If instead I arrowed down and then up to get back to where I was, if instead I wanted to highlight to the end of the paragraph, I could control shift down arrow, right? And then if I wanted to highlight all the way down to the end of the document, I would do the control shift end.
Right quote, there are 30.
If I picked, I'm just going to use my mouse and pick a random word. If I wanted to highlight from that word to the top, I would use control shift home. So there's a lot of different ways that you can highlight and navigate whatever you've got on a document, and teaching all of those things at one time to a student can be extremely overwhelming. So I like to teach them in the moment. If my student pulls up an actual assignment that my student has to complete, and I work through how they would complete that document in Google Docs and add in these little commands for navigating and highlighting and copying and pasting and verifying where they are, then it will make it more relevant for the student and less cumbersome and overwhelming. And so over time, they start to pick up and reinforce those skills. I want to do one other thing.
Top of 5.
I'm just going to go down a couple rows and go over a few words.
The largest dolphins are small.
I hit the wrong button. I'm going to go.
Ocean or brackish.
Okay, so I'm at brackish. I'm going to highlight, say I'm in a rush, and I'm just going to control shift
Selected.
down arrow to do the rest of the paragraph. It will automatically read the whole thing to me, but if I want it to reread it, say I forgot what I got distracted, I needed to read it again, I control Alt X.
Alt Control X. Practice document dash
Google. And actually that did. That's funny.
Marine escape.
Did a spelling and a grammar thing for me. It's Control Alt X was supposed to speak the selection. So sometimes when you go into the keyboard shortcuts, it will not always tell you exactly what you're supposed to have. So let's just go ahead and pull that up. We're gonna E for edit.
Combo list box.
Enter to edit it. Keyboard shortcuts. And we're gonna look. We're looking for speak selection.
Enter search results for speak selection table.
So this needs to be Control Alt A and then Control Alt X, and that's how you would have it read the entire document, not just what you've highlighted. So that's another two-part command. Sometimes when you pull up the list of the actual Google commands and you print them out, say for example, like I've done, so I have them in front of me so I can do the ones I don't use all the time in my practice. It said for me, speak selection, Control Alt X. I told you that and it was wrong. So then I hit Control / to pull up the keyboard shortcuts, and then hit E for edit box, typed in my selection. Now I can press
table with 2 columns and 3 rows. Column 1, row 1, heading level 3 screen reader support. Spans 2 columns.
So it says speak selection.
Control + Alt + A, Control + Alt + X.
And it gave me two different, what sounds like two different keyboard commands, but really it's a two-step command. So Control Alt A highlights everything, and then Control Alt X will read that for me. So you would hold down Control and Alt, press A, and then press X. Don't hold down A, you just press one and then press the other one. Now that we've kind of delved into that topic of two-part keyboard commands, I'm going to make another video about tables, because those are some more two-part commands that would be useful for using to navigate a document as well. So hopefully just learning how those different arrow keys, adding in Control, adding in Shift, adding in Home, adding in End, kind of changes the way you navigate that paper, the document. Using them in real life relevant ways is going to be more helpful than just doing a command dump at your student. So you're going to make it relevant, purposeful, and use real life examples. Hopefully that helps you get an understanding for how they work and you can use them in your practice.